So what I want to know is, what is the Democratic Party running on? What are their talking points as far as what they're going to do for America? Because it seems like to me, all I hear them talking about is race pandering, race baiting, cheating, fear mongering. That's all. That's all I see. That's why I could never vote Democrat.
Pastor, does that poll, the 21% number, surprise you?
The reason why it doesn't surprise me, because the Democrats, they have taken our vote for granted. The Democrats, they have led our community for 56 years. We have a $2.7 billion budget, but yet no change. You don't have to be spiritual. You don't have to be logical. You just have to see. Ray Charles could see that their policies are failing our communities.
You know, when I see clips like those too, you see in the beginning, I always feel optimistic about the black vote, but I can't rely on that, right? For now, I will just assume that, hey, the goal is 20%. That's the goal I'm going for. I'm not trying to go for 50, 40, not even 30, 20%. Because I honestly believe if Donald Trump gets 20% of the vote, it's a victory for him. Because to me, that's a respectable minority where you have to start listening to black conservatives. And I think that's for the longest time. This is why a lot of the black community don't respect conservatives, is that they don't see enough black conservatives out there to actually advocate properly for the Republican Party. And I honestly, this gives me, I guess, great hope, because you're starting to see when black people don't worry about racism, things they can't control, like worrying about having someone like you. Like, the worst thing you can do is try to get someone to like you. I never understood that. Maybe that's why I never was a Democrat. Maybe this is why victimhood never was very attractive to me, because I always saw myself as a take it or leave it guy. I always saw myself as an acquired taste, you know? I'm not bougie, guys, I promise. But that's how I always carried myself. If someone said, I don't want to associate with Kenny because Kenny is a ninja, I'll be like, then that's your loss, not mine. Because I strive to be the best. If you don't want me on your team because you think you don't like black people on your team, hey, lose. That's my mentality. Because just like Booker T. Washington said long ago, you get respect when you bring value to the table. And I think that's a message that the black community has moved too much away from, because they've been conditioned by liberals to see themselves as victims, to see themselves as helpless because of their skin color, to use racism as an alibi, to excuse all their inadequacies and bad decisions. Black people have been voting 56 years for the Democratic Party, getting the same results over and over and over again, getting scraps, getting welfare, getting dependency on a party. The Democratic Party has no incentive to change anything in the black community. This is why the black community has been stagnant. Because like I said, if everything stays the same, the Democratic Party is guaranteed to get 90% of the black vote. So why would they want to fix anything? Why do they want to mess that up? Because then the thing, like I said, Democrats only care about what? Political power. And helping the black community, putting the black community in a better position, hurts the Democrats' political control over the black community. And I also like to make the argument that a lot of black people can't afford Biden. Breaking: since Biden took office, gas prices have skyrocketed by over 50%, as have groceries and rent by over 20%. How's that Inflation Reduction Act helping you? And, you know, the Democrats are still in denial about this.
Heard Harry Enton with shock and surprise on his face as he was looking at the numbers. And I want to go to you first, Bakari. What explains this? Biden, 70%, Trump in 2024, 21% of voters, a very high number. And then when you look at 50 and under, the numbers are dramatically different for any Democratic president that we have ever seen. These numbers very high for a Republican candidate. What explains that, you think?
Poor polling. I mean, if you want to be honest about it, if Donald Trump gets those numbers, then I truly believe that I can sell Harry this bridge in Brooklyn. I mean, that's just not happening. I think that people have to just level set a little bit, relax a little bit, stop hyperventilating. Donald Trump is not going to get 20% of the black vote. He's simply not. Black voters traditionally, as we go throughout this process, as you get to Labor Day, et cetera, a lot of Black voters do come home to the Democratic Party. There are warning lights. I've said it from the past 3 or 4 months about turnout. But I think that Harry and everyone else who are looking at these polls analyze this race incorrectly all the time. And the reason they analyze this race incorrectly is because Donald Trump isn't the biggest threat to Joe Biden. The biggest threat to Joe Biden is Black voters staying at home. Black voters aren't going to all of a sudden, under the age of 50 or however old they are, because he gets, 4 or 5 unnamed rappers from Detroit or 4 or 5 unnamed rappers from the Bronx to support him. They're not going to all of a sudden, flock to Donald Trump. There is a threat, however, that Black voters simply will stay at home because they feel sometimes like those policies passed in Washington, D.C. haven't necessarily touched their pockets. So I don't have the same shock and awe. I just think here we are in the middle of summer and things will stabilize and get back to norms as they always do.
But the numbers are the numbers, Bakari. I mean, are you saying just don't believe the polls, or are you saying you don't think these polls will be representative of the population once voting begins in November?
Oh, both. I think that traditionally, I think what we've seen over the past 8 years is pretty bad polling. And then I think what you've seen consistently since that time is individuals have a very difficult time acknowledging that we've had bad polling, and then the polling continuously gets worse.
So political pundit Seller said that he doesn't believe in the black polls. The polls about the black support. And any day, time will see. But most Americans, according to CNBC, most Americans falsely think that the U.S. is in a recession. Poll shows, right? According to the new Harrison poll, Guardian Harrison poll, 56% of our respondents said that they believe in the U.S. is in a recession, and 58 said that the president, Joe Biden, is responsible for what they see as an economic downturn. A recession is an extended period of economic decline, usually designated when the GDP has declined for 2 or more consecutive physical quarters, which happened in 2022. But then we had mainstream media sitting here running cover for Biden saying, no, that's not a recession. It's different. It's always different when it happened to the Democrat. When in '08, the same instance happened and we designated it as a recession, right? I could bring it up again because, they think this is what happens when you don't pay attention, right? They try to pull the wool over you. Since Biden took office, gas prices have skyrocketed over 50%. Everything costs more. Groceries raised, rent raised, right? People are having a harder time finding a job. The Fed Reserve Chair Jerome Powell just admit that maybe the job numbers have been overstated. Cost of living is hurting Americans. Americans are finding it difficult to find another job. Does that sound like a strong economy to you? Right? And I bring up another data point that the wealthier you are, the more likely you are to say that inflation is an exaggerated problem. So obviously, you're only speaking for a certain amount of Americans when you say that the economy is in a strong position. If you own significant assets, yeah, inflation helps you. But if you don't own assets or not much access, this economy is hurting you right now. Majority of Americans support mass deportation and illegal immigrants. Over 50% are in favor of deportation, including 42% of Democrats, according to a recent Axios Vibe poll. The polls also found that 46% of Republicans, 30% of Democrats would endorse ending birthright citizenship, which will kill the incentive for people to come illegally over here with children. Conducted by the Harrison poll, the same poll that said that 56% of Americans believe that we are in a recession, the surveys included over 6,000 adults and emphasized concerns about illegal immigration, with many attributing the crisis to the Biden administration. Chairman of the Harrison poll and pollsters for former President Bill Clinton, Mark Penn, expressed surprise at the public support for large-scale deportation. Which candidate is pushing for large-scale deportation? Trump. But they're still saying, "Oh no, the polls. We don't want to believe the polls. The black community in Chicago are experiencing illegal immigration. Oh, you're in sanctuary city, Chicago. So accept these migrants coming from the Texas border." But instead of blaming Brandon Johnson for putting the sanctuary status, where he didn't want to hold a vote for whether or not to absolve Chicago of the sanctuary status, right? See what happened when democracy doesn't help the Democratic Party? They deny democracy. This is the Democratic Party for you. Crime is also a big issue, right? Zeke Arkham, sorry. I'll be very interested to see what the black on black crime stats are going to be today in Chicago, Baltimore, St. Louis, and New Orleans, right? Crime matters to a lot of black people. Black people are disproportionately representative as victims of violent crime, but not leftists don't like to talk about this. Crime is a big issue for a lot of law-abiding black Americans, which is the majority of black Americans. Are the gangs and drug dealers going to commemorate Juneteenth by pausing all things that directly cause the destruction of their own neighborhoods, or will it be business as usual? You know, Black Pride and Week was cans and all. We don't need white supremacy trying to destroy us, so we do a good job enough on our own, right? You in the intro, you saw a black lady talking about how the Democrats, all they seem to do is focus on the social issues. They don't focus on any policies. They don't see how they're trying to help the black community. 27 out of the top 30 crime-ridden cities are run by Democrats. Yet they keep expecting the black community to continue voting for them over and over and over again. And this is why a lot of black men are walking away from the Democratic Party. A lot of black people are walking away from the Democratic Party. Right now, black women are still the most loyal Democratic voter because a lot of the a lot of black conservatives say because the government is their husband, they so reliant on the system. They like to chase these government jobs, so they see the government as an asset and as a incentive to be in their corner. They see the Democrat because anyway, this is why black women are the most loyal Democratic voter is because of the fact that DEI heavily benefits them. The leftist corporate structure that's currently going on right now put out a lot of opportunities for them. They're more likely to get a college education compared to the black man. This is one of the reasons why they vote Democrat. Not because of racism and all this stuff. They use racism as a way to try to fearmonger a lot of black community, a lot of blacks from not looking at the Republican platform, not supporting the Republican Party. When all of this is based on means, what they can gain politically from this, what they can gain personally from this. And if black men thought the same way, there's no way a black man will vote Democrat. I'm just saying, right? I'm just saying. If you want to seal the border, you vote Trump. If you want to restore law and order in this country, you vote Trump. These two things affect black people. Illegal immigrants are not going to come into the wealthy white neighborhoods. They're going to come into the poor minority neighborhoods like the Hispanics and like the blacks. This is why a lot of Latino voters support mass deportation. If you want to defeat the deep state, vote Trump. The education system that constantly tells black people how they're victims. Repackage black history in a way that fits a leftist narrative to condition black people to think a certain way, aka the Democratic way, because the large portion of the Department of Education vote Democrat, donate to the Democratic Party, I believe at 88%. And these are the same people training and educating 76% of American students. And you wonder why the youth seems to always be slanted towards the Democratic Party. If you want to fight inflation, you vote Trump. Biden keeps lying, saying that Trump gave him a 9% inflation rate when in reality it was like 2.3. Biden had the highest inflation in 20 years during 2022, I believe. And you think voting for that guy again next year is going to give you a better result? Black people, most people cannot afford Biden. Only rich people can afford to vote for Biden. I'm just saying. If you want to revive national pride in this country, you vote Trump. If you want to revive our national identity in this country, you vote Trump. If you want to make America great again, you vote Trump. You want the America of 2019 or you want the America of 2020? Sorry, 2022. All by the Democratic Party. All by the Democratic Party. Let's hear it straight from Vivek's mouth, and then I'll end off the video.
If you want to fight inflation in this country, vote Trump. If you want to secure free speech in this country, vote Trump. If you want to defeat the deep state in this country, vote Trump. If you want to restore law and order in the United States of America, vote Trump. If you want to revive national pride in this country, vote Trump. If you want to make America great again, vote Trump. That is what we're going to do in Wisconsin and across this country.
And I'll add, if you want to stop focusing on identity politics, you vote Trump. Because identity politics is a distraction from the real issues. Identity politics is used as a means to get one American to compete against the other, and having a party try to cater to that. And I think that's what the Democratic Party does a good job of doing. They're good. They're like, oh, we're going to give you special treatment. We're going to discriminate against other Americans to give you a preferential treatment, and then condemn the other Americans when they scream how unfair it is, which it is, by the way. And a country divided like that cannot really stand. And you see the amount of spending that our government's doing, the amount of debt we're going into, how it never seems like the political parties ever pass any agendas that benefit Americans as a whole, is because they cater to certain subgroups, make certain promises. Those certain subgroups band together and vote, put these people into power. And since Democrats are beholden to multiple groups, they're really not accountable to any group. And this is how you continue getting this cycle of where they come around every 4 years to ask for the black vote. And I think a lot of black people are starting to see the game. But, I digress. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you believe that this will hold? Do you believe that Trump actually has a legitimate chance of getting a 20% vote? If you're a black voter, or if you're a black American, and I want to hear your perspective on the current landscape of things. I hear a lot of black Americans, they rather stay home than vote for Trump. And if they are voting, I usually hear they say they're considering voting Trump. I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I'll catch you guys on the next one. I appreciate you watching to the end of the video. Peace.